I was really terrible as a person, selfish, conceited. Everything was about me. And here I was married with a child, and life was just about me. Prior to coming here, I just wasn't a good person.
He was 100% an addict, and he will admit it today. The drugs controlled his life, and they controlled his actions and made him do some really horrific stuff that he deeply regrets.
The life I had lived, I don't never want to live it again. I don't never want to be that person again.
Pastor Mac is going to be in prison for life without the possibility of parole.
The first time I started talking to God was that on the inside I felt love, but I didn't know what it was. But I knew I wanted some more of it. And so I would pray as I was reading, asking God to change my life.
He had told himself that, you know what, I have messed everything up in my life repeatedly. There's never been one thing that I feel that I have ever done right. And he said, I'm going to do this right.
So I want to see people through your eyes. I want to know how to live life.
It took 2 volunteers and a chaplain who saw more in Pastor Mac than the drug addict and the criminal who showed up there. And they loved him. They spent time with him. They volunteered their time to pull something out of a man that he didn't even know he had inside of him.
And I needed these men in my life to help hold on to the faith that I really believed in, that I wasn't the only one that was believing what I was believing, that we could change. He just wanted us to talk to him. It wasn't like I had to get on my knees and say this prayer 15 times or go to somebody and say, hey man, you need to pray for me. I could pray for myself. And he taught us how to pray. He said, when you pray, you go to the Father like our Father who art in heaven. And so it's personal, and it became personal. I talked to the guys that were around the jail, and we started a little prayer group. We prayed a lot. We read the Bible every day. But trust me, I didn't have a clue. I just knew that, hey, he heard us. He was listening. And so prayer became a very important part to me in the spirit. If you read and you study and you love the Lord, you want to talk to the one that you love. I became who I am today by reading those scriptures and by talking to the Spirit about what I was reading, what was I supposed to do. When you look back, you get a chance to see what the Lord is doing in your life when you don't think the Lord is doing very much, but he's actually doing a lot.
In prison, far too often, the gangs on the yard set the atmosphere, they set the tone. If the gangs are going at each other, the tone on the yard is not going to be pleasant, and it's going to affect the entire prison yard.
Prisons are pretty racial. They're controlled by certain groups. It just depends on what you need and what you want.
It was the Wild Wild West. A lot of violence, a lot of gangs vying for position and status.
It was so segregated, you know. Native Americans with the Native Americans, Mexicans with the Mexicans, whites with the whites, the blacks with the blacks. And so we just reached out and started communicating with everybody. I mean, we would lock up in prayer and get a few guys around us and started talking to all kinds of races. And we just started sharing the love of God with them. In the middle of the 90s when Brother Crane was my cellie, and he would go to everybody. He didn't care what color, and he would love them and grab them and hug them. And it was strange. And I said, Crane, man, what are you doing? And he just kept doing it, and it just rubbed off on a lot of us. And we just started telling each other, well, hey, man, I love you, man. I really do love you. It felt weird and strange in the beginning. It's like, Lord, for real? I need to go tell him, talk to him. Oh, Lord, have mercy. I don't understand how I'm going to do it, but as long as you lead me and guide me, I'll do it. And he would lead you and guide you. Guys didn't understand love. And so when you start talking to some people about it, what you mean you love me? I'm telling you, and sincerely, I care. I really care. And that's strange for men to tell other men they love them in prison. But we could see that God was with us at that time. People would curse me out, talk crazy, put me down, who you think you are type thing. And none of that mattered. We prayed our way through. We talked our way through. We got out here, boots on the ground, and went to these units out in the cold and told everybody, hey, how much we care. Come on, man, we can change. We can do this. It started affecting other guys. You know, other racists were saying it to each other, and we just loved on everybody, prayed. God was preparing the hearts of the people so that we can unite and stop all this madness of separation. And so it took a lot of prayer.
To hear a DOC official describe it, which I have recently, he said it totally transformed the atmosphere of the yard. Where it used to be one of the most violent yards in the state of Oklahoma, it is now the most sought after yard for incarcerated men.
Different denominations would get together and we would walk around the field. I think we walked around it 7 times. It was 100 or so guys, and we were just walking around praying for all kinds of things, not for ourselves, but usually for this institution, for the state of Oklahoma, for the governor, for the president. Whatever was going on in our world, that's what we prayed about. Different groups would pray about different things. It just depends on what's on that group's heart.
It's an atmosphere of calmness, it's an atmosphere of peace, and that's why we see a lot of incarcerated men in the state of Oklahoma wanting to be a part of Joseph Harp. And the reason is you can trace it all the way back to the start of Joseph Harp Community Church and the start of Pastor Mac launching something that is still going strong today.
I was convicted at trial for murder in the first degree and given a life without parole sentence.
So I got incarcerated when I was about 20 years old. I started off at a different prison. While I'm in this prison, I'm continuing to do drugs. I'm doing the very thing that sent me to prison, to the point where at one point I got caught inside of a prison facility with drugs, and they had locked me up in isolation.
You know, it was like I couldn't live as I knew before, but I didn't know how to live now.
The fact that God would use us, and he started a community church, unheard of in the state of Oklahoma, in prisons, to affect guys' lives, to give them an opportunity. Because on the inside, we want to do right, we just didn't know how to do right.
And he began to disciple me. You know, he began to pour into my life that which was needed.
We started teaching guys, who are you? We started asking, what do you want to be? And a lot of guys didn't have a clue.
The community church was built around a service, you know, an original service that they were allowed to have led by inmates. And Pastor Mac grew that service into ministries that were necessary for the yard.
I learned submission to authority, not just the submission to the authority of the pastor, Pastor Elliott, Pastor Mac, but submission to the authority of the government officials, of the COs, because up until that point I was defiant.
They see it as their job to make sure that people under their care and people a part of their church not only grow in their faith, but grow away from their past crimes and their life of crimes. And they take rehabilitation very seriously.
We begin to look out on the yard and say, hey, what's going on out here? How can we impact our society right here?
Pastor Mac, as well as the other leadership at Joseph Harp Community Church, saw this as their mission to make sure that people do not come back into prison.
There are guys that are leaving here with their characters changed.
Even the people that some of the crimes were committed against, they've reached out to me currently, and they're like, Connor, they're like, we just want you to know we've been praying for you.
I need to see through your eyes. I need to love through your heart. I need to be who you want me to be. We need to pray more for a genuineness of caring for others who don't look like us, don't walk like us, talk like us, act like us, but say, God, give me a heart for them. You got a heart for them. Can I have your heart for them?
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
We believe that God, in the mystery of prayer, has entrusted us with power from above.
Though wounded, weak, and flawed, and we walk with sight impaired, we are children in the hands of love. When it seems we've done all we can do, we will bow our heads and trust in you. When we pray, heaven comes down, and hope rises within us, and not our will, but yours be done. When we pray, united we stand, heal our hearts and mend us, together becoming one.
We can move the mountains when we join our hearts and pray.
If you have suffered loss and hope comes crashing down, and you wonder if you make it through the day,
There is peace for the weary ones who have nowhere to turn. Help is just a whispered breath away.
With eyes on you each passing day,
with our eyes on you, yeah.
fear and hate will fade away.
When we pray, heaven comes down, and hope rises within us. Not our will, but yours be done. When we pray, united we stand. Heal our hearts and make us together becoming one. We can move the mountains when we join our hearts and pray.
God, give me a heart for them. You got a heart for them. Can I have your heart for them?
If it's under our breath, looking to the east or to the west, if we're standing tall or on our knees we fall, we know, when we pray, heaven comes down, and hope rises within us. Not our will, but yours be done. When we pray, united we stand. Heal our hearts and mend us, together becoming one. We can move the mountains when we join our hearts. Nothing here can stop us when we stand as one. And pray.
If you really want to impact the world, pray about it. And then watch your life change.